Coming up on the next edition of Power and Politics, the Republican National Convention wraps up while the FBI and Secret Service continue their investigation into the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Florida Senator Marco Rubio is passed over as VP pick, even as there is chatter he may have another job in a future Trump administration. Hello and welcome to another edition of Power and Politics. I'm your host, Frank Cipolla. Power and Politics is a weekly, unbiased look at the top stories affecting the state, with a special emphasis on the psychology behind the decisions and issues that affect our lives. I want to welcome my weekly co-host, Emmy Award-winning political psychologist, Dr. Bart Rossi. Doctor, welcome.
Great to be back again, Frank.
All right, well, this has been quite a week news-wise, starting with the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump and ending with all the developments surrounding the Republican National Convention. Let's tackle first the attempted assassination, specifically the young man who was behind it. Let's talk about the psychology of what goes on in his head.
Okay, Frank, for me as a psychologist, there's two features to this situation, okay? One is, was the shooter really intent because of political reasons? Did this shooter really want to murder Donald Trump because, you know, he has certain political leanings or thoughts? Or, on the other hand, is this shooter just like the other shooters, the same type of individual, the same profile, and really he just wanted attention and he wanted to become a somebody? Okay? Now, obviously, there are political factors here because we're shooting at the former president. He was wounded. That's for sure. However, in my view, this particular individual at 20 years old probably doesn't really know much about the Ukraine war or abortion issue. He seems to be withdrawn, inept. He's the kind of person.
And we've seen this before.
It's the same profile as the other shooter. As a matter of fact, he is the identical of the other shooters in a profile. Young, inept, socially
bullied
immature,
as a kid.
Bullied, lunch alone in school. And he's the type of guy, in my view, who wants immediate identity. He wants to maybe go out, die, and be a somebody because he's looked at as really a no one, a nobody. And he feels that he probably feels that he's on the outside looking in all the time. And now he could shoot the former president and probably gain some notoriety.
And in your career, you've done a lot of network interviews with regard to the quote-unquote lone killer or the mass murderer and so on and so forth. The profile.
There is a profile, and everything we just said, that's the profile.
Okay. Also making news, President Biden calling for civility following this. I thought he did a good job in getting out there. He called the former president. He was on television 2 or 3 times during this situation. Right. Will we have civility going forward?
Well, psychologically and politically, the president did the right thing. The words that he spoke were the right words at the right time. However, I don't think it's going to make much difference because politics is going to gradually move away from this shooting, this particular event, and we're probably going to be a week or 2 from now, we're probably going to be back to where we were with the vitriol and the nasty words going back and forth. There's a lot of fabrication all over on both sides of the aisle and a lot of negativity.
As I mentioned at the top, a really busy news week. Among the headlines, J.D. Vance selected as the VP pick for President Trump, former President Trump. Some say he is even more MAGA than Trump. How does this help the Trump ticket? I'm kind of curious here.
It helps the Trump ticket because he's young, energetic. He comes with money and the ability to gain money for the party. That's a big factor. He's very MAGA. He's very conservative. No exception for abortion in the past. That's what he has said. And he doesn't really want to fund Ukraine. I always thought that the Republican Party wanted to have a strong military, was strong and would stand up to somebody like Putin. He wants to back off. He doesn't want to fund it. He said, we're making a mistake. They should be on their own. I don't know how that really helps the party. So to your question, Frank, I think there's pluses and minuses, but the big plus is that he's young, energetic, will go along with the Trump routine, and he brings money into the party.
Politically, however, Trump is probably going to win Ohio, so he doesn't really need Vance in that regard. And you would think that he would tack a little more to the center to get that independent housewife vote in the suburbs. I don't think he's going to get that with the Vance.
I think Vance is going to have trouble with the suburban women. He's going to have trouble.
Okay, time now for one of our regular segments, a commentary from Dr. Bart Rossi that we call the Rossi Rant.
And Frank, today I'd like to go off again on something that we've done quite a few times here, unfortunately, and that is guns in America. And, you know, after this shooting, what comes to mind to me is right now is we're going to have security for everyone. If you do a TV show, you do a podcast, if you're a congressman or if you're a senator, you need security because you don't know who's going to be shooting at you. So my question, again, is why don't we do something about guns and guns in America? I'm not talking about doing something against the Second Amendment, but what about doing something with guns, like banning assault weapons? You know, AR-15s, semi-assault weapons that are made to kill people. Why are we selling them? We probably have too many of them out there right now anyway, but we also need to be more conscious of guns and our possession of guns and making sure that we're more responsible. Many people who own guns are very responsible individuals, but we have too many people with personality problems out there, as per this shooter. Mental health problems, personality issues, serious psychological problems. We do not want those people to get guns.
Always a hot button issue. Yeah. All right, thank you, Doctor. Coming up, a judge in Florida tosses out the documents case against former President Trump. And with J.D. Vance on the ticket as the VP pick, what becomes of Governor DeSantis' presidential aspirations? That next on Power and Politics. Welcome back to Power and Politics. I'm Frank Cipolla, joined by political psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi. A judge in the Sunshine State has dismissed the stolen documents case against former President Donald Trump on the grounds that the appointment of a special counsel to look into it is illegal. Doctor, let's talk about this. I mean, we have photographs of documents stacked up in Mar-a-Lago's bathroom, on a stage somewhere, open, spewed on the floor. You know, it seemed like a pretty strong case, and now on a technicality, it's thrown out. Why?
There are a lot of questions about Eileen Cannon, the judge here. She's been overturned twice on appeal already. Now she's thrown the case out. I don't want to come out and say that she's in the tank for Donald Trump, okay? But I've said it, okay? This case is now dead before the election. But it probably would go forward on appeal. I don't think she's making a good decision here. I'm not the lawyer, but psychologically, practically, I mean, the Justice Department, they can't come up with an independent prosecutor. It's been going on for years, and it makes some sense to me. I mean, we also have a prosecutor that just prosecuted Bob Menendez in New Jersey, guilty on 16 charges. I mean, her reasoning here is questionable. And I think that this case, as you said, there's a lot of evidence, and it may go forward, but it will not go forward if Donald Trump is elected.
You're absolutely right. We will not find out before Election Day, as we should.
We should.
In this and several other cases. Just to make an educated decision with regard to who you want to vote for.
Right.
All right, also making news, not a good week for Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who was passed over by former President Donald Trump as a VP pick. And Governor Ron DeSantis, who has been looking around for some limelight at the convention. He spoke earlier this week, I think on day 2 or evening 2. He's trying to grab some of that political spotlight at the convention. He's doing a couple of breakfasts. Let's talk about Marco Rubio first. I'm very much into body language, and from what I saw from Marco Rubio as he sat there and listened to the speeches during the convention, he's a bit depressed. I think he thought he had it.
I think as a psychologist, he really wanted this position. He wanted the VP role. And he saw himself as being a good VP for 4 years, and then obviously Donald Trump moving on, he couldn't run again. So it was an opportunity of a lifetime for him. And I agree with you, the body language, the way he appears, he looks to be upset with this. It was an opportunity that was lost. And I think it's troubling for him and where he wants to go politically.
You make a very good point, but I have a question. I've brought this up before in previous shows. You saw what happened to former President Mike Pence. Why would you want to be vice president knowing that, and Mike Pence was loyal throughout the entire Trump administration, why would you want to be that vice president knowing what happened to Mike Pence at the end?
Well, there's two sides. That's one side that I'm sure Rubio and everyone else thought about. The other side is, can you get along with the Donald, the former president, and make your own name. And a lot of people think they can. I think it's very problematic. But he wanted it. I agree with you. He wanted this position, and now it's gone.
And you can see it in his body language.
Yeah.
Also, among, if you want to call it, the losers in this particular equation with J.D. Vance, now the VP pick, is Ron DeSantis. First of all, I think he had to beg to get on the stage. I'm not sure what the conversation was. Last week, we reported that he would not be speaking during prime time. Then he had a prime time slot on Tuesday night. He's doing a couple of breakfasts during convention week. But, you know, with J.D. Vance there, should Donald Trump win, then you have J.D. Vance as the heir apparent in 2028. If Donald Trump loses, you got J.D. Vance as the heir apparent in 2028 again, which sort of excludes Ron DeSantis.
Well, Frank, I look at it as the psychologist here as this is a step backwards for DeSantis. He has essentially stepped into the twilight zone, if you will, because Vance is a very good speaker. He's a pretty dynamic personality. And Governor DeSantis, as we've talked about here many times, does not appear to have a dynamic winning personality. He just does not come across well. His biggest problem, the governor's problem, is himself and his personality, and that remains. And that's his biggest drawback right now.
And we've talked about that on several shows, actually. Also, if you don't know what it is, Google Project 25. It is backed by the Heritage Foundation. Also includes some right-wing proposals for former President Donald Trump to consider should he return to the White House. Now, while it does not propose a national abortion ban, it does recommend limits on the morning after pill and a ban on delivering that medication through the mail. I don't know how this is a winner for women voters out there. You tell me.
This is a position that the Heritage Foundation has taken, and they're okay with the fact that former president is trying to distance himself a little bit. They just hope he gets elected, and then they can put this plan into place. That's what they want. And basically, they want really to move away from public schools. They want white Christian schools. They want to have very strict regulations when it comes to abortion. It's a very conservative, highly extreme approach to what we have in America today. It would be a major step towards almost extreme conservatism.
We say this show is unbiased. We do everything in our power to make sure it's unbiased. So let me see if I could say this as delicately as possible. Former President Trump is not always truthful. I think I could say that accurately.
He has trouble with the truth.
He has trouble with the truth.
Many politicians have
They
trouble
do,
with it.
not just him. But if he's saying that this, I'm for this and for that, how do you know what will happen after he's elected? Because he could say, well, I've changed my mind.
Well, yes, and he could say that he agrees with most of the 2025 project after he's elected. He could say, well, a couple of those proposals maybe I won't go for. But by and large, I think that he would embrace it. And certainly J.D. Vance would like to embrace it because they're very conservative. That's what they're running on.
Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we see who was up and who was down this week in our always popular segment, Sunshine or Showers, when Power and Politics continues. Welcome back to Power and Politics. The weather in Florida can be, shall we say, changeable. Sunshine some of the time, showers popping up, and often during the summer, downpours. We had a few this week. So let's use that as our setup for a look at who was up and who was down this week in a segment we call Sunshine or Showers. Dr. Rossi, we start with you. Who was in the sunshine this week?
Well, Frank, I have, let me pronounce it correctly, Tanisha Wells Eason. Okay?
Very well done.
Oh, yeah. She is a teacher in Seminole County. And also sunshine for the county, Seminole County, because she is an early education, early learning teacher. And she goes around to help parents before kids actually enter school and helps children learn language and become more adept at languages early on. And she's helping parents and kids all across the county before they even get into school. I'm a big proponent as a psychologist of early learning and early learning skills. The fact that the county has this program, I think, is great. She's doing a terrific job. She's well known for her effectiveness. So I'm putting her in the sunshine.
She's in the sunshine
for
this
early
week.
Learning and early language learning.
And
yes.
they, by the way, teachers are the unsung heroes. They really are. They go to work. They teach every day. They develop kids and so on.
She travels all over the county.
It's wonderful. Yeah. It's wonderful.
So, who do you have now for this week?
That was quite animated. Thank you very much.
On.
I have Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody and everyone who works for her. She is reporting that Fentanyl deaths are down 10% in the latest statistics. And of course, it's not just her, but it's everybody involved in that. Drug use is awful. We see this much too much, opioid epidemic and so on and so forth. So fentanyl deaths in Florida down 10%. Ashley Moody made that announcement. She is the Florida AG. So I'm going to put her. I'm putting her in the sunshine this week.
And good that,
love
good that they're thinking about it and trying to go in that direction. For
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay, listen, with every sunshiny day, we've seen this. I was ready to pop into the community pool the other day, and on my way there, downpour. So you never know what's going to happen. So who is in the showers this week for you? Somebody's got to be in the showers.
Not really showers, Frank, this week. It's like you just said, downpour, heavy downpour, and that's Senator Bob Menendez from New Jersey.
So you're going out of state for this one?
Yes. Well, we have to, because he has always operated like with a shade of gray, tending to be almost black, in my view. Okay.
So he's on the margins.
He's been on the margin in terms of taking money, always wanting kickbacks, always being the kind of person who, to use a very sophisticated word, sleazy, underhanded. He has a reputation of being that, actually, for many years. The gold bars and the hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bedroom. The jurors made the right decision here.
And I think a lot of people thought he was going to be guilty anyway. So
yes.
Bob Menendez, the senator from New Jersey, in the showers this week.
Now, after that, well, who do you have?
Who do I have in the showers? Are you asking?
Yeah.
Hey, I have Larry Robinson. He's the president of Florida A&M University in Tallahassee. He made a big announcement not too long ago that there was a $237 million endowment coming from one of the folks that went to the college. Big endowment. Turned out they did no vetting whatsoever. The gentleman doesn't have the money. He's not capable of writing a check that big. As a result, Larry Robinson has left to spend more time with his family, as we say, or to pursue other opportunities. So he left. He is in the showers this week.
He's gone in another direction.
He's going in another direction. Exactly. We just all three of those. All right, thank you, Doctor. Time for a break. When we come back, a commentary by yours truly titled, Let's Be Frank, When Power and Politics Continues. Welcome back. We saw something this past week we have not seen in 43 years. A president, or in this case, a former president, injured by a bullet in an assassination attempt. The last time that happened was in the early days of the presidency of Ronald Reagan. Certainly, there was a security lapse. And as before, apparently, the shooter was a young man who had been bullied and was operating outside of society's norms. But this was also inevitable. The rhetoric leading up to this year's presidential election has been especially angry. The man behind Project 2025, a wish list of ultra-right-wing policies, says we are on our way to a second American revolution, which will remain bloodless, his words, if the left allows it to be. The 900-page document evokes violence and civil war as if it's some kind of big-budget blockbuster Marvel movie or video game. The left, meanwhile, has used social media to trash former President Trump with claims real and imagined. That's why it was good to see President Biden step up to try and lower the temperature. He did what past presidents have done in this case. He spoke about it, demanded we return to civility, and focus instead on policies and not personalities. He even spoke to former President Trump by phone. It's also interesting to note the former president has not, as of yet, publicly thanked President Biden for his concern. As we tape a bit earlier in the week, that may still happen. It is in this humble reporter's opinion that social media, when it comes to politics, has made things worse. Everyone has an opinion, and now everyone has a platform, or in the case of TikTok and YouTube, their own personal TV station to express their opinions. The president has called upon all of us to step back and think before we type, post, or say things that we know not to be true, but are done only to generate attention or inflame public opinion. As of today, we know some things to be true. That may change, but right now it appears as though the assassination attempt against former President Trump was not staged, not connected to the opposing party, but you can be sure that conspiracy theorists are working on something, anything, that will entertain their followers. The facts be damned. In this hatred-filled time, it is incumbent upon all of us to act more like adults. We'll be right back. That's it for this week's edition of Power and Politics. On behalf of my co-host, political psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi, and the fine folks working behind the scenes, thanks for joining us. As always, we'd like to know what you think. Visit us at powerandpolitics.tv or email us at info@powerandpolitics.tv. We'll see you again a week from now at this time and on this same station. Have a great week.